I thank the Secretary General for his briefing and for his valuable remarks. I would also like to thank Ambassador Gustavo Slavinen for his intervention. The United Nations was established in 1945 with the noble objective of saving succeeding generations from the scourge of war. As the most universal and representative international organization, the UN has been credited with keeping the peace over the last 77 years. At the same time, going into the third decade of this millennium, we need to ask ourselves, has the United Nations lived up to its expectations? The requirements and challenges of our present and future are vastly different from those of the past. The world today is very different from the world of 1945. Is the UN, particularly the Security Council, which is the foremost organ tasked with the responsibility of maintaining international peace and security, able to remain relevant? Mr. President, we have all agreed that the world today is beset with multiple challenges. Terrorism, radicalism, threats and challenges from new and emerging technologies, climate change, pandemics, the intensifying geopolitical competition, and much more. Each of these directly affect the lives of one and all. An armed conflict in one part of the world has cascading effects on the people of another. We've seen the effect of the Ukraine conflict on other developing countries, particularly on the supply of food grains, fertilizer, and fuel. Meantime, the impact of the crisis in Afghanistan is being felt throughout the region. It is indeed appreciable that the UN has been at the forefront of dealing with these and many such challenges. Such efforts, however, have been partial or intermittent at best, as we have invariably stopped short of providing effective and durable solutions. It is clear today that the challenges the world is confronted with cannot be dealt with through outdated systems and governing structures. Mr. President, one of the guiding questions posed by the Presidency for today's meeting is, what constitutes common security? We are firm in our commitment to uphold the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. The underlying principles behind common security lie in upholding the rules-based international order, underpinned by international law, premised upon respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all member states, resolution of international disputes through peaceful negotiations, and free and open access for all to the global commons. Any coercive or unilateral action that seeks to change the status quo by force is an affront to common security. Further, common security is only possible when countries respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, as they would expect their own sovereignty to be respected. Common security is also only feasible when all countries stand together against common threats such as terrorism and do not engage in double standards while preaching otherwise. And again, common security is also possible only if countries respect agreements signed with others, bilateral or multilateral, and do not take unilateral measures to nullify those very arrangements to which they were party to. Today's meeting is therefore an opportune moment to engage in a serious discussion about India's call for reformed multilateralism, at the core of which lies the reform of the UN Security Council. A body that was founded in the aftermath of the Second World War, which continues to reflect in its decision-making 77 years later the fundamentally flawed premise of "to the victors belong the spoils," will continue to be confronted with a crisis of confidence and credibility. As my Prime Minister had said at the UN General Assembly in 2020, reform in the responses, in the processes, in the character of the United Nations is the need of the hour. How can we aspire for common security when the common good of the global South is continued to be denied representation in its decision-making. The most urgent thing, therefore, for us to do is to make the Security Council more representative of developing countries so as to reflect current geopolitical realities. How do we explain away the fact that the African continent does not have a permanent representation in the Security Council, despite a majority of issues being dealt with by the Council belonging to that region? How can we aspire for common security in Africa when the body denies them representation on a permanent basis? Mr. President, a truly representative Security Council is the most pressing need of the hour. Else, there is a real danger of the United Nations being superseded by other plurilateral and multilateral groupings, which are more representative, more transparent, more democratic, and therefore more effective. As a founding member of the United Nations, India has consistently displayed its commitment to hold the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. We've been the leading advocate of the concerns and aspirations of developing countries and the creation of a more equitable international economic and political order. We've contributed immensely and proudly to maintaining international peace and security as one of the largest troop contributing countries towards UN peacekeeping missions, having sacrificed the highest number of lives in that noble endeavor. We've also worked to foster global socio-economic development through transparent, viable, sustainable, and demand-driven partnership programs. The Council would recall that when COVID hit the world, we had extended our hand of friendship to other countries by delivering vaccines, pharmaceuticals, and other medical equipment to more than 150 countries across the world. Mr. President, India has been playing its part in being a trusted and reliable partner for all, based off our ancient Indian ethos that sees the world as one large family. However, the question remains, are multilateral organizations, especially the Security Council, ready to deal with the new world order and new challenges? In my country, which now represents more than 1/6 of humanity, we believe that until we reform, perform, and transform multilateral governance structures, we would be continuing to be found wanting. Thank you.